All right. This is one of the podcasts that I am so honored and blessed and excited about. A good friend, Shawn Antonio. How are you, Shawn?
I'm amazing, my friend. Great to see your face.
The fact that we pinned you down and got you here is just astounding in its own right.
Timing, man, my friend. Timing, divine intervention, right?
I know how busy you are, and you're always just helping to inspire and motivate others. So you'd be perfect for this. And again, I'm so like just blowing up with glee and joy and enjoyment.
We do have a bromance. We do have a bromance. Our bromance is super strong.
And the same name is spelled different, but
Yeah.
the same.
Same name, same vibe, same energy. To think we've been friends for 12 years and we've never lived in the same state, and here we are today.
Yep. And we haven't even seen each other in what, 7 years, I think we said.
7? Yeah, I think it's 7. I think spot on 7, man.
As soon as we jumped on here, it was like we were together yesterday.
Yeah, right. Love French. I love friendships like that.
Absolutely. I mean, especially coming from the hospitality industry, we have multiple friends all over the world, and the ones that you can like not talk to for months or even years and pick up, hey, what's going on? And it's boom, you go jump right back into it.
Yep. Those are my favorite kind of friendships. Ones that are built in a foundation of integrity and love and connection. So you just like, whether it's 2 years, 5 years, like you said, 5 months, whatever it is, you just jump right back into the rhythm and the flow. Yep. That's how we've always been, you and I. So I'm just so grateful. I always flash back to our first meeting. I'm just like, yes, poolside, shots of Jägermeister, and here we are.
and the backstory is I hated Jaeger. I got sick off Jaeger in the 11th grade, so I never did Jaeger. But with you, I couldn't say no.
I remember your hesitation, because I remember your aviators you had on. And I remember your hesitation when we got the shot. You looked at it and you're like, oh, man. and we did it. And you were just like, and you had to like shake off the 11th grade.
I really did. I was traumatized for years off of that.
That's awesome. I'm crying with laughter.
And we're just getting started. I love it.
That's awesome.
So let's go back. Let's go back in time. So, when you first joined the workforce, how'd you get into hospitality? Like, what positions you hold? Where'd you work? What'd you do?
Yeah. You know what, Chris, about this, Shawn? I don't think you know this about me. So, hi guys, I'm Shawn Antonio. So right now, currently, I'm a life coach, motivational speaker, and author. I'm based in West Hollywood, California, and I coach people all over the world, from billionaires to A-list celebrities to everybody who's up for a bigger life. So that's who I am today, daily basis. And I have this 1 hour to be with Shawn, so it's perfect timing. Then I'm coaching the rest of the day, so it's like, yay. But that's who I am currently. And I fell into life coaching about 17 years ago. But rewind, even before that, I started in nightlife when I was about 13 years old. I was a professional dancer and choreographer. I lived in Miami and New York, went back and forth between both places. And I was a trained dancer growing up. I'm Spanish and Dutch, Panamanian and Dutch. So I grew up speaking a bunch of languages and grew up around a lot of culture and music and just expression. So at 5 years old, I fell in love with dance. After watching the movie Fame, when I saw Fame and I saw people flying through there, I'm like, Mom, Dad, I want to do that. Like, how do I do that? So I started dancing, and at like 13 or so, I started having my first gigs where I was actually performing and dancing. And I fell in love with lyrical and jazz and tap and ballet and all these different things. And being Spanish, I grew up with all the salsa and cha-cha-cha and rumba and all that stuff. So I held a 12-year run of being a dancer. So I danced in clubs in Miami, New York, for the most part, between 12 and 24. And I danced for a bunch of big award-winning groups and record companies and music videos and TV and film. And that was awesome. So I was in nightlife in that capacity. I worked back in 1990. Let me think. Hospitality, I waited tables. You don't know this about me, Shawn, but I waited tables and bartended from 1994 until 2001. So in Miami, in Fort Lauderdale, Hollywood, Florida to be exact, I worked at Bennigan's. May Bennigan's rest in peace. It's from the movie Waiting, the Ryan Reynolds movie. That store in the movie is my Bennigan's. So really? That Bennigan's, yeah. I mean, it's carbon copy or it's exactly the one I worked at, right? So I worked as a corporate server for a while. I just waited tables, and in the place where I worked in Hollywood, Florida, there were barely any like Black Hispanic dudes at all. So I was like the token Black dude. So I became really good as a waiter, and I started working as a corporate trainer. So I trained all the staff that would go from my Bennigan's to another Bennigan's. Fell in love with them, worked with them for 2 years. Then I jumped over to TGI Fridays. That was awesome. All the while still dancing in nightclubs in Miami. And in 1996, I jumped ship from the restaurant world. And by the way, I worked at Melting Pot. I worked at, where else did I work? At Red Lobster. I was a dishwasher at Red Lobster for a while. Like, talk about like, way down, like just doing what you got to do, right? So Yeah, I did all that. And then in 1986, I started my own dance company and worked at a place called the Chili Pepper. And the Chili Pepper was a series of 2 nightclubs, 3 actually, one in Orlando, Florida, one in Miami, Florida, down in Coconut Grove, and one in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I ran the one in Fort Lauderdale, Florida as the entertainment director. So we did shows, we did dance shows, skits for about 6 to 8 hours a night. We had over 200 performers. And we performed between the one there, Orlando, and also Miami. It was awesome. So every night we performed for about 4,000 people, and it was just insane. So I did that and then got bored. I got all the things, right? I bought a house with my mom when I was 22. I'd done the experience of like women and cars and speedboats and all the things, right? Then I was 24 and I was bored. So I moved to LA and started working for different groups of people. And I started into promotions in June of 1999. My mentor, may he rest in love, Suck Sung, he was one of the top promoters here in Los Angeles. And he took me under his wing. And back then he ran a place called Garden of Eden. And Garden of Eden was one of the hottest spots in LA at that point in time. Like the first night I went there was like nonstop celebrities like Mariah Carey and Justin Timberlake and all these huge people back then. And I'm like, wow, this is LA. And it was like that. So I started my nightlife career in June of 1989 at the House of Blues, another place here in LA that just got shut down / sold years ago. And I built a promotions company under his wing. And over a 2.5 to 3 year period, I built my brand, Shawn Antonio Presents. And that's when I started like blowing up and doing massive events. And so I took my company from like a decent sized company to like a nationwide company. And I did stuff in Vegas. I got the pleasure of opening up Wet Republic in 2008. I worked with the Towel Group as the guys that gave me, all those guys, Jason and all those guys gave me my first stop. Jason, Noah, they gave my first start in 2005. Because I was doing stuff for Magic Project. I was doing a lot of fashion events for clients here in LA. And we do these huge events during February and August. So as I built up my following in Vegas in 2005, I jumped aboard with the Tao Group and did Tao and did Lavo and did Tao Beach and all those places. Fast forward, I jumped into rehab because my boys Jacques and those guys were doing rehab, which was the only hottest pool party, which is where you come from, right? And it was the party that was crushing everything until everybody started having their own pools, Wet Republic and this place and that place and Surrender. So yeah, so I built my brand out in Vegas and blew up out there as well. And that's where we became good friends. And I expanded to like Chicago and Dallas and Miami as well. Did one-offs there and special events. I'd fly my crew out. I'd go out, host events. It was awesome. Then again, hit a wall, got bored, got to the mountaintop, man, did all the things. And I've been studying to become a life coach from 2003 on. Kept it quiet. I was really selfish. I never told anybody until 2011, 9 years ago. I launched it and said, almost 10 now. I said, hey guys, I'm a life coach. And everyone's like, that makes sense. So I did stay in nightlife until about 2015 when I retired in August 2015. We got pregnant, myself, my wife, Alicia, 8 years married. She's a badass, 8.5 years. And we have a 5-year-old daughter. And I couldn't do nightclubs anymore, man. You know, pregnant, wanted to do that. So I transitioned and started general manager. I moved to Australia for a while. And I know you don't know any of this stuff. This is great.
I love this.
Yeah, this is great. So we got pregnant January 5th, 2015. We found out pregnant. Yay. So we wrapped up our LA run. We spent another 6 months here, being pregnant. And then my wife and daughter are from Adelaide, South Australia. So we moved from here in LA. We were living in Eagle Rock. We had a good friend of ours pretty much watch our house. She was kind of our roomie, one of our besties. So she just watched our house, our 2 dogs and cat, and we left and moved to Australia. So I was in Australia for 7 months. And I ran a really cool place. Shout out to Kafana in Adelaide, South Australia on Peel Street. My boys, Peter and all those guys. I got to work with those guys and turn their restaurant into one of the hottest lounges and bars and late night spots because they were closing at 10 o'clock on Fridays and Saturdays. I'm like, guys, what the fuck? So I went and knocked on every door within mile radius, north, south, east, and west for 7 months. Met everybody and brought them to Kafana. And I tripled their sales. It was amazing. And as a result, my experience being in Australia was amazing. We had our daughter there. We had specialists and we had a special team because my daughter was actually born with a couple disabilities. She had club feet. She has club feet, I should say. She has a tethered cord. So the specialists out in Australia were able to actually operate on her like day 1, day 2, day 3. So great stuff, man. So yeah, nightlife out there in Australia is amazing. They drink, dude. They drink. I couldn't keep up some days. I'm like, yeah, guys, it's 9 a.m. They're like, yeah, mate, time to drink. I'm like, oh, wow. Like, you ever heard of a shower beer, Shawn? When somebody hands you a beer in a shower? Like, that happened to me a couple of times. My father-in-law was like, here you go, shower beer. And I'm like, why is there this white Scottish hand going into my bag? I'm like, what's he's like, good morning. And I'm like, I didn't even brush my teeth. He's like, drink the beer. I'm like, so I know that's a lot to take in, right? So I did Adelaide for a while. and then came back and I general managed a couple of places. I worked at Meat District Company in Pasadena. I think that's also RIP. Ran it. They're an Aussie-based company that was in LA. They have a bunch of brands out in Sydney and out in Melbourne. They have like 17, 18 restaurants out there. And their only one was here, and I got to run it. It was awesome. I GM'd that place for a bit. And then I opened up the Phoenix here in Hollywood in 2016, summer 2016 for 7 months. Crushed it. We did a lot of money and a lot of celebrity events, which I hosted and put together and all that good stuff. And then I shifted and just like really jumped into my full-time life coaching in 2017 and wrote 2 books. Wrote one called Be the Beast You Are, about really living your true beast, like going and swinging for the fences in life and not holding back and learning how to feed your beast and run with it. They're on Amazon, by the way. The books, I made them $8 just so everyone can afford them. And 8's a lucky number in the Asian culture, so I took that on as well. So it's called Be the Beast You Are, and it's been around for almost 4 years now. And my second one followed up. I released that. I released Be the Beast You Are on July 20th of 2020. That was also when Chester Bennington took off, which was a random moment in time. Like he died, and then I launched my book. And I'm a huge Linkin Park fan. Some of those guys are my friends. And then October 2020, I released Having Amazing Relationships. And that was my second book, to have all of your relationships be epic and connected and loving and awesome. And they're all under the Fire series, under Finding Your Fire. So it's the Finding Your Fire series and it's the Fire series. And that's my like group of books. I have 2. I plan on writing 9 more in that series. So this year I'll be releasing the next one called Just Letting Go, the art of letting go of attachments. Like just letting go of all the shit we're attached to. Like stop being cats on curtains, let periods be periods and things end when they end, and stop trying to put commas in sentences. Like, so that kind of art and mindset. And so that's book number 3. So yeah, man, hospitality was great for 23 years. And I'm 46, but I probably should be like 66, all the things we've done. But yeah, man, that's my journey. That's my journey in a very succinct, like long, experience of sharing that. So that's me.
I love it. I didn't even know 3/4 of that stuff about you. That's amazing.
Yeah, man, it's been a ride. It's been a ride. Yeah.
So you were in Miami and then you went to LA. Did you like have anything lined up, or you just wanted to change your board?
Not even.
Let's go coast to coast and just start over.
Yeah, not even close. What happens? I came out to LA. So Miami was doing well. Was working with the Chili Pepper. Had a house. Had cars. Had all that fun stuff. But I felt like I wasn't living my truth. I felt like I wasn't living to the full potential of what I could. Even at 24, I had the awareness to kind of go, all right, this is not it. This is not the end for Shawn, right? So I came out to LA and visited my uncle. My uncle Omar is a huge model agent. He still is that guy. And I came out to see him for about 5 days. And I kind of liked LA. I thought it was cool because it had like the Miami weather without the humidity, and it had the go-getting energy of people in New York. And having lived in New York, born in Brooklyn, New York, and lived in Panama, because I'm Panamanian as well, like I said. And I liked the energy of LA. And I liked the fact that you could do anything, right? Because that people were just out here doing stuff. So I came out here August of 98. And I fell in love with it. I was like, you know what? I went back to Florida and I was like, yeah, Mom, I'm going to move. She's like, where? I'm like, LA. She's like, who do you know out there? I'm like, Uncle Omar. She's like, okay, how are you going to do that? I'm like, I'm going to wrap up my life here and sell. I had 2 cars, sell one of my cars and just wrap up here. And it was scary. And I was 24 and I was like going to drive across country with my then girlfriend, Lauren. May she rest in love. She unfortunately passed away a while back. But yeah, man, I packed up my 1994 Jetta and it was like almost low riding because we had my stuff and Lauren's stuff. And we drove 8 states, 2 weeks, almost 8,000 miles from Fort Lauderdale, Florida to Los Angeles, California. And we stopped in each state for like 2 days. So we experienced each state for like 2 days, 2 days, 2 days, 2 days. It was awesome. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, man. It was January 2nd of 1999. And I got to LA at like 3:48 in the afternoon on January 16th. So literally 2 weeks we took our time to get here. So I just celebrated my 22-year anniversary of being in LA less than a month ago.
That's amazing. I want to do that. I rode a motorcycle from Vegas to New York, but I did it in the worst thunderstorm ever. I was soaking wet for 5 days. I didn't get to stop anywhere. And so I always wanted to go back. That's the only time I've driven across country. And I always wanted to go back and like take my time, stop in different states, see different things, do all that and just like have no timeline.
It's so enriching, dude. Traveling and culture and doing that is like my jam. I always make the joke that I only work so I can travel. Obviously not right now, but I love, like most of my money I've spent in my lifetime has been travel. Like I got some things, but travel. I got pictures and I have stories and I have all of that and experiences and moments and friends around the world, from Egypt to Fiji to Australia, like just friends. And it's great. And that's what life, in my opinion, is about, is living it to the fullest.
100%. Like having all those experiences is so much more important than having a nice car that's parked in your garage collecting dust, or a boat that's sitting in the marina that you use 3 times a year, or something like that.
Agreed, my friend.
Do you miss like the action and the excitement of working in the hospitality industry?
Every once in a while I do. I mean, obviously we've been in a pandemic for almost a year here. May 12th, actually, sorry, March 12th will be a year we've been indoors, myself and my family. But yeah, dude, I mean, every once in a while I stick my foot back into the world of that. And I do consult every once in a while on certain projects here in LA, Vegas. And I step into that world every once in a while. But I do miss how fast-paced, nonstop it was. I don't miss the babysitting of clients and the fires we have to put out constantly. I don't miss the amount of alcohol that was involved in living that lifestyle. That was a lot. But I mean, I have millions, I wouldn't say millions, let me say hundreds of thousands of stories from the 23 years of being in nightlife with all types of people. But every once in a while I miss it. But I know it's different. Even before the pandemic, and I went to I worked at Marquee Day Club and nightclub. I went to Marquee back in 2017 after having worked there for about 3-4 years. And it was different, not bad, different. It had shifted. So nightlife for me now, what I've seen, it's just a different mode of operation. People aren't connecting. They're not talking. They're just on their phones. And I saw it at one of my events, 2015, when I saw the change. January 2015, I was hosting a place called Greystone Manor, which is now called Nightingale here in LA. And my friends own it, Sam, Zarian, shout out to those guys, SPE, right? And I remember one night I saw a bottle service table, 4 girls, 4 guys, all of them on their phones, right? And I saw it because I was looking over, we had somebody, I think we had T-Pain or somebody was performing that night, right? And I remember looking at the stage, looking at the performer and looking at them, and they had 4 bottles of vodka on their table, bottle service, $2,000 table, whatever it was. Actually, it was exactly a $2,000 table. I remember that. And they were all on their phones, man. And they were all dressed really well and looking great. And I don't know who was with who or if they were all friends, but I just remember going, that's really sad. So I went up to that table later. I said, hey guys, I'm Shawn. I'm one of the hosts of the night. What are you guys doing? They're like, oh, we're celebrating this person's birthday. I'm like, you guys have been on your phone all night. What are you guys doing? They're like, well, we're just, doing this. I'm like, you guys should get off your phone for a bit. It's like, I can't remember coming over with a round of shots. It's like, let me get you guys a round of shots. And I went to the bar, got a round of shots, came back. I'm like, all right, guys, here's my challenge to you. Get off your phone for 10 minutes. 10 minutes of not constantly, whatever you're Snapchatting, whatever you're doing. Take 10 minutes. Enjoy this moment. Enjoy that person's birthday. Hug them. Invite over new people. Make new friends. Do that. That's what I miss about nightlife, is the constant array of extraordinary people you get to befriend. So the millions, I stopped counting at 5.2 million people I've met in nightlife. So I was like, that array of people, there's so much magic to humans if we allow, right? If we just walk into conversation being wide open. So I miss the opportunities to just be out there hosting 3, 4, 5, 8 events a week. But it was exhausting. It was exhausting, right? It's crazy. But you and I are designed this way. We have so much energy, we have to use it somewhere, right?
Yeah, and that's what the whole evolution, because obviously we were in nightlife, such there was such a thing as bottle service, and we saw the evolution of bottle service, VIP, all this stuff, and then introduce the phones.
The phones.
The phones was it killed it. It's like you said, you can go to a table now and you have an aerial view and you'll look down. Everyone, 8 out of 10 people are on their phones.
Yep.
At their phones. They're not interacting with each other, not interacting with people next to them. Back in the day, all you did was do laps in a club and you talk to people. You go do a lap, go back to the bar, get another drink, do another lap. It was like a whole day. Every time you met different people. You get a pocket full of phone numbers, you meet different people, you have different experiences. Now that's all gone because everyone's staring at their phone.
All gone.
Kills it.
Yep. Dude, I have a not a rule, but an agreement I made with friends about a decade ago, actually, right around the time that you and I met, right? 2008-ish, 9-ish, when iPhones came out and all people were like, things were changing. I made a rule or an agreement with my friends. When we go to dinner, guys, cell phone tower. Boom, 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 boom. First person to buy touch their phone buys dinner. So I made that a thing and it really worked for a while. So we'd either do that and or turn your phones off at dinner, unless you're a mom and, the babysitter and all that stuff, right? There's that. But dude, every time I did that cell phone tower thing, or like they used to call me the phone Nazi until I got yelled at a lot by people. And they're like, Shawn, you're always taking my phone away. I'm like, yeah, because you're never fucking present. You're never here. Like you're here at my nightclub and you're not talking to me because you're on your phone or taking pictures or doing something. I'm like, be here. So for me, my experience, and I'm sure a lot of my friends that were at these dinners, I did 4 years of dinners with friends. Every Thursday, we picked a different place all over LA. And it was awesome. So for 4 years, anywhere between 4 to 22 of us picked a different restaurant or place or new experience. And like, all right, Shawn, you're up. Where are we going? What's the budget? We'd say what it was. Was it 35 to 50 bucks a head? We're going here. And it was great because nobody was on their phone. We could talk about life and what's next. I definitely did not welcome bitching and complaining. That was like my thing. I'm like, guys, we're not bitching and complaining. It's not a venting session. This is a bonding session. And you know what? As a result, those are some of my fondest moments, man. Those 4 years of having dinners with those friends, it was awesome because everybody was present, you know, and phones are awesome. I love my phone and my technology, right? But it's joy stealing because you're not in your moments. Because isn't that the purpose of why we work and why we do what we do, right?
Yeah.
To have enough money to live a life and be with people we love. I mean, that's my purpose. Like I'm living my purpose being a life coach. This is what I was born to do. But I love the moments in between, the silences, the conversations, the depth, the things that you get out of being with someone truly, fully when you look in their eyes. That for me is just delicious. That's the theme of my book. The second book, Having Amazing Relationships, is being that clear, you know?
And that's part even with friendships, but also in relationships as well, in dating partner, when you're out on a date or something, people are on their phones, it's so hard to be engaged, and it's society's losing a lot of that, and it's sad. It's sad to watch, and I mean, I'm guilty of it as well. I try to keep my phone in my pocket or in the car or something as well, but then like my fiance or when we're friends, they're on their phone. I'm just like, okay, I might as well grab my phone. Everyone else is on their phone.
Yeah,
and I like the phone tower thing. I'm going to try that. Actually, go and dinner tonight. I'm going to suggest that.
Yeah, suggest it. I mean, you might get some resistance, but suggest it and see what happens. It's a really brilliant video I saw. I don't know what year it came out, but Gary Turk, British dude. There's a video on YouTube called Look Up. Look it up. It's amazing. I cry every time. Maybe it's because I'm a dad, but I cried before I was a dad. So the video is like 4 minutes long, and it talks about how we become zombies to our technology. And literally the video, there's so many moments in that video where I just it's like bawling and crying, but it really brings you present to how you're just missing life. And yeah, try that tonight and see what happens, man. It really, that's what it's about, human connection, soul to soul. And that's where you have your most cherished moments, not on technology, with the people you say you love, right?
And it's funny, they call it, social media and social networking, and people are becoming so anti-social because they're just having a relationship with their phone instead of being present in the moment.
Yeah, 100%. I love seeing your face. I can't even get over this moment. I'm just like, hey, we're gonna do podcast together? Yeah, let's do it. 2 days from now. Woo, let's go. I'm just like, I love that. I'm just like
the fact that you're like, okay, Friday. I'm like, what? Yes.
You know why too, Shawn? And this is for everybody who sees this. Guys, ladies and gentlemen, whoever sees this around the world, wherever you see it, we gotta be better about committing to the moment. We're always pushing things back. I lost a friend recently. I lost my dad 52 days ago. He died to COVID. Unfortunately, he was back in Panama. He contracted COVID. And on December 12th, he called me saying he was sick and had a headache. On December 22nd, my dad was dead. My dad was 73 years old, never did drugs, alcohol, smoked, anything. Had a 12-pack when he died, right? 10 days. Here's why I'm sharing that with you. Another friend of mine, Adam Lopez, just passed away last Wednesday, nine days ago. Cyclist, like would ride bikes miles and do all crazy cyclists. Like his Instagram is all cycling stuff, right? 44 years old. On the way up Santa Barbara, him and his best friend riding up. His friend looks back, doesn't see Adam, goes back. Adam's dead. Heart attack, massive heart attack. So why I'm sharing these really like real moments for you guys out there is that let's make everything a now phenomenon. Let's not wait till tomorrow. Like we always wait till tomorrow. We always say, next week, if you can do it now, just fucking do it. Like if you can call that person, take 5 minutes to like do what you said you would do, especially when it comes to yourself and your word, do that. Like Shawn, this, just so you guys know, if you're watching this, Shawn hit me up on Wednesday. Hey, we have a Wednesday bro down that we do, right? He's like, hey, what's up? He's like, hey man, want to do my podcast? I'm like, yeah. Boom. 6 minutes later, I'm like, I'll see you Friday. He's like, what the fuck? Because my experience of me, and I am busy. And I'm so grateful, gratitude, universe, for all the busyness and money and abundance, and lives get to change, right? That's number one, lives get to change. But number two, why make excuses? We're always making excuses. We're always like, not now, later. But there is no later. Two of my friends that I talked to today at 3 o'clock, we have a consistent weekly phone call where we check in, right? And we just get together. Sometimes we have drinks together. Sometimes we just connect. And two of my friends, when we heard about Adam last week, both of them said, I got a text from him last week and I was too busy. Like that's left with them forever now. Like he's left. And one of the guys is a cyclist. He's like, we just texted back and forth last week about taking a trip and going cycling. Now he's gone. You know, who would think a healthy cyclist who's 44 would die, right? Who would think that? But that's what it is. Life's not guaranteed, man. Like Carpe Diem is my jam. I have them tattooed on my wrist. I have Carpe right here. I have Diem here. I have Never Settle right here. These are my mantras to remind myself to like never settle. Carpe Diem, seize every moment. Go be with Shawn on Friday at 12. Let's go. Like, why not? So seize your motherfucking day, man. Can't scream that loud enough. You know, it's like,
I think everyone watching and listening right now can understand why I was so excited about this podcast.
I have a finite amount of energy I have to use every day. So here's some of it.
I know. That's how you and I connected so quickly. Like, hey man, you want to do this? Yeah, let's do it. Hey, let's go.
Yeah. Totally. Like your tribe.
Before we used all that energy to make people do shots and party and stuff, and now we're trying to use that energy to help save them and promote happiness and joy and health and everything else. So I love it, man.
Yeah. How has it been for you, Shawn? I know this is your show, right? But how's it been for you? You're shifting into this, like from nightlife to here.
Yeah. You know what's funny is I always said I spent like 20 years getting people drunk and like I felt like ruining their lives. I want to spend the next 20 years helping make people's lives better, so it all balances out at the end. And I would say that for even when I was still serving drinks, like I always knew that there had to be more. I was never truly happy at it. I made great money, I had great times, whatever. But then as I got older and stuff, and I realized that all the stupid shit I was buying and stuff didn't matter. The homes I owned didn't matter. Like everything I did didn't matter. Yeah. And I blew so much money. And then it got to the point where I hated my job so much that I was taking all the money that they was paying me to try to buy my happiness because I was so miserable in my day-to-day job. And then so I'd quit and then give me more money to stay. And I take that money and I blow it trying to buy my happiness. One of my best friends said it the best. The other Shawn we're talking about.
Yeah.
He's like, dude, you basically waterboarded yourself every day for 4.5 years. He's like, I should have just pulled the trigger. I'm like,
wow,
you're right.
That's powerful.
I did. Cause he worked with me for like 2 years and he's like, dude, I can't do this anymore. I'm like, dude, to his credit, I love him. He really stayed in the job for me. And I saw how miserable he was. I'm like, listen, I can see you're here for me and I love you and I appreciate you, but you got to go do your own thing, man. Cause this isn't where it's at. And it wasn't for me either, but I signed a contract and sold my soul and, I was in it. He can go. And a week later, he resigned, moved to Arizona, managing a dog toy company. And he's happy as can be. Just talked to him this morning.
Awesome, dude.
Gets to take his dog to work every day.
Yes. Comfort's the enemy of growth, my friend. When we're comfortable, that's when life stops working. Seriously. Yep. I'm so happy to hear that about Shawn. That's awesome. You gotta, and that's what you gotta do, right? You gotta find your Zen. You gotta go in, right? And that's what I've loved about this great pause. I mean, I've heard so many different, alliterations of what people call this time, this quarantine, but I've called it the great pause because we all needed to sit the fuck down. We all needed to look and see what we're doing with our lives and what we're actually up to and what we're up for. And why were we doing that thing that we said we don't want to do? And it's like you surviving, right? Like I was retired mentally from nightlife in 2014, summer 2014, standing on a table at one of my nightclubs. Wifey looks at me and the place is packed, celebrities, DJs, the whole nine. And she looks at me and she goes, what's that look on your face? And I go, I'm done. She goes, what do you mean you're done? She goes, and I was like, I'm done. This is the mountaintop, right? This is what it looks like. One of the top event promoters and nightclub people in LA and Vegas. And, all right, what's next? And I was just bored. It was autopilot. And I didn't like that feeling. Like when you're autopiloting your life, there's a problem. So I stayed in it for another year and change. And I retired by doing 8 events in 7 days. I was like, fuck it. I'm just going to go hard. Everyone's like, what? You're retiring? Oh my God. Like all these analogies, like, oh my God, it's like Superman not flying. It's like Michael Jordan when he retired. I'm like, thank you. Thank you for supporting me all these years. 3,685 events later. Sorry, 3,865 events later. It was like, I'm done. I'm done. So I know that feeling of like, what am I doing? Why am I still here? So you start to feel like an imposter too. You're just like, what really matters to you? What really matters? You got to check in.
That's why I created this whole success after hospitality. It's not like, oh, I'm going to go be a multimillionaire and all this stuff. It's finding your own success in yourself. But
Yeah.
everyone I've talked to, they have that something switches in you. Like, I wish I could still be behind the bar and happy and content, making 100 grand a year, working 3 days a week. Something switched to me. I couldn't do it. You couldn't pay me $1 million. Like,
Yeah.
I'd probably do a bartend a couple days a week for $1 million, but
But you said it.
but
You
I wouldn't
sell
be
your
happy.
soul. You said it right there. You said selling your soul. Yeah, I understand. I've had some, I won't mention names, but I've had some places I've worked at and places I've worked with that I was selling my soul. And it was a big fat paycheck behind it. And it was all the carte blanche and it's whatever I needed in whatever rooms in Vegas. They treated me like a god. I got comped rooms everywhere. And like, it was awesome. But at a certain point you check in and you go like, oh man, what really matters?
Yeah.
What really matters? That's the big question.
And only, I mean, I'm sure there's people listening to this going, you guys are crazy. That sounds amazing. My bad. I mean, when you're sitting in a room full of, 2,000 people, everyone's partying, dancing, and you're the top dog, king of the world. Everyone's looking at you like idolizing. And you're like, but I'm done.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
until you get there, you don't understand it. But the longer you stay in hospitality, you end up getting there. And everyone I've talked to, it just hits you one day.
Which,
One day it just turns off. Like, I'm not happy anymore.
and here's the caveat to this, which I'm sure you'll agree with me on this one, Shawn. It's like, unless you have an exit plan or a plan to own your own nightclubs, lounges, dive bars, whatever, unless you have an actual physical, like, okay, I'm going to do this until I get to this money, this certain amount of thing. And like, I knew two stripper friends of mine who worked at, and I won't say their names, but they worked at not Spearmint, but at Sapphire, right? When Sapphire first opened up out in Vegas, right? Sapphire, arguably one of the top strip clubs out in Vegas, right? Love that place. Been there, I don't know how many times. So the owners are friends of mine. The GM's a good friend of mine, blah, blah, blah. So two of my girlfriends I met there that night, and we became friends that night. And lap dances the whole night, but we're talking. I'm like, you know what? No more lap dances. I just want to talk to you guys. They were two best friends who were gorgeous, one brunette, one blonde. And they were taking that money, that $10,000 a week they were making, and investing in real estate. At that point in time, they had between them as a group, because they were actually business partners, they had 8 houses, 8. So they were building an empire and they had an exit plan. They're like, we're going to do this for another 6 months until we hit this number, this amount of properties. And guess what they did? They did that. We stayed in touch for years after that. And they did that. They went from taking their clothes off to wearing corporate garb and like buying whatever the fuck they want. Like, you got to have your plan. And I think maybe, and I'm sure you probably more than I, well, Vegas and Hollywood has a kind of similar mindset sometimes, but it's just so much excess that you don't think about what's next. I never, when I was in nightlife, I'll be the first one to admit, I definitely was the guy on my phone a lot. Definitely was that guy. I was definitely the guy like blowing 2, 3, 4 grand a day on dumb shit. I definitely put on huge bets in Vegas and be like, oh, I lost it. No big deal. Like, yeah, I've definitely been the guy who made a bunch of money at my events and then took that same money and gambled away or bought some dumb shit that doesn't matter. I don't even know where it is right now. So unless you have a clear who you are while you're in that, it's just going to end and your switch will happen. That switch you talk about, it happened to me 3, 4 times throughout my nightlife career where I'm like, ooh, and it was uncomfortable because you're like, why am I, like you said, most people would be like, what guys, you left that? Yeah, because we were done. You just go, okay, so I highly agree with that.
Yeah. And that's what, when you're making the money excess and stuff, the excess of money, I mean, talk about excess nightclub, but in excess, like if you go out and you blow it, and you're like, whatever, I'll make it tomorrow. It doesn't matter. Nobody had like that plan. Like very few have that plan. I'm going to save, invest, like all that stuff. But the ones that actually had a plan are the more successful. I have so many friends that were making over 100 grand a year that they're broke right now. They're flat broke. They have nothing to show for all those years of doing it because they were, drinking, partying, gambling, buying shit they didn't need to impress people that they don't care about, all that stuff.
Yep. And the truth is, I mean, from what you just said to what I have to contribute is that if you don't create your own happiness within, you'll never be happy. And that's the thing. Like you said, you were spending money on trying to find your happiness. Happiness is not external; it's internal. Until you really, which I've always asked this. I don't think I've ever asked you our times together, but I always ask people from like about the summer of 2000. I started asking people because I was doing a lot of big celebrity events. So I was meeting every A-lister from I've met Paul McCartney. He's fucking awesome. I've met Stevie Wonder a couple of times. Like him and I have a great, profound connection. He's awesome. And I started meeting all these people. And I'm like, you know what? Do me a favor. Before you speak, tell me who you are, not what you do. Unless you were Paul McCartney and like, people who are like retardedly, they walk in a room, you're like, oh, that's Tom Selleck. Look at the mustache. Huge dude, like I had a moment with him one night. He's awesome too. He's funny as fuck. But that's a whole nother story. But if you can know who you are and not define yourself by what you do, right? That's two different distinctions. Not what you do is not who you are. Like I'm organically a person who loves people like you, who wants to see people fly. It's just called being a life coach. I've been called a bright coach. I've been called so many different nicknames. So one of my clients calls me Sparky Yoda because I'm so electric and I'm more like her Yoda. Another one calls me high voltage. I'm like, so like I have all these nicknames, but it's called in the world of psychology, it's called life coaching. And yeah, I've done some stuff that shrinks have done. I've taken a bunch of courses. I've read books. I got certifications. I got all this stuff. But truth be told, I love you. And I want you to win. So if you become my client, it's about you winning. And whatever I can do to get you there, it's like that. And that's the internal thing, is really stamping out who the fuck you are while you're doing that thing. And I know I wasn't having this conversation, even when I was practicing becoming a life coach in 2003, 4, 5, 6, I was still knee deep in nightclubs and in Vegas and after hours and this and that. And it was money falling out of my pocket. And like, it was like, I wasn't on that journey to find out what I really wanted. I was just living in the moment, with no plan B. So when shit fell apart and I'd lose a night or two, or a venue would close or get shut down, it's like, oh, that's $1,000 out of my pocket. Oh, so, the mindset is what I think for me anyway was missing of what I needed to become who I am today. But I'm grateful for all the lessons, grateful for all the pitfalls, all the moments where I fell down, all the moments where I failed, because it shaped and molded who I am today.
I love that. I was the same way. I was so miserable in nightlife that every book, everything I was reading on the side was all like self-development, personal health, like trying to get my mindset, like trying to fix the toxic environment of the nightclubs and stuff.
Yeah.
With my everyday, because you go home and you're like lights, camera, action, then you go home and you're by yourself. Like it's that transition of, or the huge amount of excess and partying and everything to the lonely days when you're not done. It's like it takes a toll on you mentally.
Yeah.
Badly. And that's why there's so many people addicted to like opioids and alcohol and like in Vegas there's a lot of suicides.
Oh my God.
Accidental or purposely, because of everyone, they're so used to that, like surrounded by people, everyone loves me, and they go home and they're lonely.
Yeah. See now, and I agree with that one because I've lost a lot of people, unfortunately, to that as well. Suicides, overdoses, accidental or on purpose. But for me, I know my breakdown was I never let the party stop. So what I used to do is like after throwing events, I'm like, my hotel room or like my house or whatever it was, and learning to be in moderation and being responsible for what your life looks like. And I'm not a druggie. I'm not a big drinker. I definitely have drank in the past, and I drink occasionally, but like I never became an addict to anything. But I became addicted to people. So even in my days off, I'd go and have like lunches with friends, and it wasn't me and like one person. It was me and like 30 people. And I'm like, hey guys, this is where I'll be all day. Come join me. And like, so I know for me, and definitely in my insecure days of not wanting to look at my own stuff, right? And I definitely remember a bunch of years, 2006, 7, 8, where even my days off, I was out in the world and surrounded by noise and chaos because I was addicted to that. And so when I had those like quiet nights at home watching Californication or whatever show I was watching back then, I would sit there and I'm like, who can I hang out with now? I was addicted to that. I'm like, who can I text and come sit next to me? And that's how I fell in love with my wife. She was my business partner in 2011. And she's my business partner. We worked together and then she'd go home. And then the night would end and I'd be like, sitting on the couch, watching whatever show or whatever I was doing. And I'm like, hey, what are you doing? Want to go see a movie? Like I was addicted to people. And I remember that, like never wanting to be alone. And I'm not an insecure dude, but I got addicted to like the rush of conversation, of being around people, having adventures, being like, hey, let's go to Vegas right now. Ready? Let's go. Let's get in the car. Let's go. Like I was that guy. I've been to your town 288 times. And most of that was from 2006 to now. I mean, and it's been 2 years since I've been to Vegas. So it was like, I'd say 2019, 2006, so 13 years, 288 times. That's a lot. It was mostly work, but still, it's a lot. So that's what my addiction was, people. Now, I love my quiet time. It's interesting. You shift. So.
It's funny. I remember living in California bartending. We got off at 2 and we jump in the car and drive to Vegas.
Yeah, 100%. So easy to get there, right? The 805, boop, right out.
I was in Orange County, so we just take the 15, 405, 55 to the 91 to the 15.
Yep.
But it
Easy.
always sounded a great idea when we're cleaning up the bar, at 2:30 counting our tips. Like as soon as we hit state line, it's like, 5:30 in the morning, we're like, ugh.
Yep. See, we were gangster about our state line trips. We would stop at Prim, breakfast at Denny's. I drink coffee only there. I'm not a coffee drinker, but I have 2 cups of coffee there, and it's like crack for me. And I have like whatever Grand Slam breakfast with sausage and all the fattening stuff at 5:36 in the morning, and then keep it moving and get to wherever hotel I'm staying. I've stayed at the Palms 133 times. Like that's my old stomping ground because I work with those guys. But that was my to beat the yawn, coffee at that Denny's. You know exactly what I'm talking about too.
Yep, I know exactly. I've eaten at that Denny's. I know exactly what. They had the Bonnie and Clyde car there. They got all shot up. You there?
Totally, man. 100%.
Shawn, I know you're a busy man. I know we only had a short time to be with you. So do you have any advice for other people that are looking to get out of hospitality and how to grow?
Oh yeah, 100%. So for people who are stuck in hospitality, and Shawn, can you hear me right now? For some reason, you hear me nice and clear? Cool.
Yeah.
For everybody who's in hospitality, and I know it's fallen apart the past year, right? We've all been beat up by it, so to speak. I've seen a lot of people fall down. Take this moment, this great pause to figure out who you truly are and what you truly want. If it is hospitality, rock and roll, figure out your happiness within hospitality and do that. I have a bunch of friends who are career bartenders, career servers who are that. They want to do that for the rest of their lives, and that's their commitment. But get really clear and committed to what you really are about. When you can get clear about what you're about, then align your actions with that. Align everything in your life with those goals. And I saw this quote recently that I love, and I give it to a lot of my clients. It says, decide what kind of life you want and say no to everything that isn't that. Right? So remember, think about that. Decide what kind of life you want. And then everything that's not that, say no, thank you. Like just politely, no, thank you, not in trouble. And then, think about this, a couple things. One is, remember when you were a kid, 5, 6, 7 years old, what did you say back then, what you wanted to be when you grew up? Maybe plug back into that. Maybe it's something that you gave up on, that you stopped. Maybe you want to be a famous musician. One of my clients who's like, what is she, 64? Yesterday I was coaching her, and she said she always wanted to be, she said she played bass. And I'm like, wow, you played bass? And she said, yeah. My idea was to become the girl version of Motley Crue and travel the world. I'm like, what happened to that dream? She goes, I just stopped doing it. I'm like, what do you mean you stopped doing it? Like, let's start doing that again. Actually, she's 49, turning 50. And I was like, what happened? And she's like, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, all excuses, right? So let's get clear about what excuses you have in place, where you're comfortable, where you're stagnant, where you're lying to yourself, and where you're not really playing at 100%. Because that's what life's about, is really like removing all the circumstances and the stories. Like the best story and excuse we have right now is COVID, pandemic, right? But who can you be while this pandemic is happening? What kind of person can you reinvent yourself to become that? And that's what I've been doing, reinventing my business. As a result, I'm having some of the best years, been my best life coaching year ever. Clients wise, as far as their lives changing, financially for me and my family, and just the gift of being able to help people discover themselves. Like, how cool is that? Like, Shawn, I know you get that high as well. So those are my tips to go dig within and get rid of anything that's toxic. Anything. You guys, just to plug myself to say where you guys can find me, ShawnAntonio.com, ShawnAntonio.com. You can find all my social media. You can find all my online school. I have 5 courses. I have a free course on that online called Reset Your World. Reset Your World is a course you should do now. I created it April of 2019, so almost 2 years now. And the course is designed to reassess and reinvent yourself. Gutting your phone of toxic people, gutting yourself of toxic habits or bad moments, getting rid of for people in hospitality who drink and drug all the time. Stop. Just stop. Because it's escapism. You're running from yourself. I remember in 2008 when I used to drink a lot. What was I doing that for? It was part of the culture, right? But I could have said no. And it's up to us. So remember, it's your life. It's your story. You write it. You say how it goes. So stop making excuses. Stop living in bullshit. And find your happy and create it, like live in it, and only do things that light you up. Or as WeWork's mantra says, do what you love, because then the money follows. Do what you love and be fearless. Be really, really fearless. Like, don't sit in I'm afraid if I do. No, have the difficult conversations with yourself and others. Do the things you really want to do and do them now, today. So that's what I got.
I love it. I mean, I'm sure everyone who has been listening or whatever understands why I was so excited about this podcast. And we're going to put a link below in the comments to you so everyone can find you and take your courses. I highly, highly, highly suggest it. Shawn reaches out to me every Wednesday and just brings a smile to my face and makes me inspired and motivated and just make me conquer the day. So I love it, man.
This has been great, Shawn. It's awesome to be with you. I suggest we do this more often in general anyway. Just like
100%.
Maybe we shift our Wednesdays to like a little 5-10 minute catch up and like face to face it, you know?
I'm in 100%. Let's do it.
That's awesome.
All right, buddy. Take care.
Shawn, thank you for who you are in my life, man. I love you. It's been 12 years of friendship going on 13. Let's keep growing and flowing. And everybody out there, go live your life. Stop fucking around. We don't have any time. We don't have any time. Live life now. All right.
That's right. Take care, Shawn. Thank you.
I love you. I'll talk to you soon, brother.
Bye.
Bye.